Everybody, I'm here with Martin Cilia, Australian guitarist, surf music. How are you today, Martin?
Excellent, Ryan. Good to be chatting with you.
I've been waiting a long time to speak with you, and many have said you're the greatest Australian guitarist, surf guitarist.
Oh, it's
Um,
good to hear. Thank you.
yeah, so first I want to ask, just for my own benefit, do you know Jules Verne?
I know who of them. Yes.
Yeah, he's really good too. Also in your neighborhood.
Okay. I didn't know it was that close. Okay.
So I guess I want to start off with the Atlantic's record.
Yes.
Um, Tell me a little bit about when that's coming out and what who's involved, what can we expect?
Okay. Well, the Atlantic's record is called "Still Making Waves." It was released on January the 26th, which is Australia Day here in Australia,
Wow.
and it coincides with 60 years since the release of the song "Bombora." That was 1963. So it's like 60th anniversary album in a
Wow.
way. It actually started off as I don't know if you know Peter Hood, the original drummer, passed away just over a year ago, and I was talking to Jim Skeothesis. He's the guitarist along with myself in the Atlantic, and he wrote Bombora and many of the other songs. He called me up a couple of years ago and he said, "I'm thinking about doing a solo album. I've never done one. Would you help me with it?" So yeah, sure. And then we all went into lockdown, and so and Jim lives in Brisbane, which is about almost 1,000 kilometers away from me. So we were doing stuff via the internet. So what happened was, so I was helping him do a solo album. So we started on that, and Jim was doing all the writing, and I was just helping him finish stuff. And then about a year ago, a bit over a year ago, Bosco Bosnat, the original bass player, his wife passed away, and we got talking. We were talking together, and Bosco said to Jim, "What are you up to?" And Jim goes, I'm making a record with Martin." And Bosco said, "Can I come and play on it?" So next thing we know, we had like the Atlantic guys together, and we had one track with Peter Hood on drums already, and we got another drummer in to complete the rest of the album. So Jim just turns to me and says, "I think we've got an Atlantic's album. Have you got any songs?" So I just chucked in I gave Jim a listen to what I had, and he went through and picked some songs, and that's kind of how it started. It was sort of by accident, but everything fell in place.
That,
And it,
that's a really happy accident.
yeah,
Um, how does that make you feel that that all came together the way it did?
well, it's good. It was just one of those things. Definitely wasn't planned. We'd finished the recording career. Once Peter passed away, we finished with the band. But seeing as there's three of us there, and we had a song with Peter on, and we were writing in that style, and then Jim says, "Well, if I put an album out under my name, no one's going to know me. If we put it out under the Atlantics, we might sell a few copies, if you know what I mean." So
Yeah,
we went down the Atlantics road, and having Bosco. Without Bosco, we probably wouldn't have done that. But having Bosco on board on bass, that gave us three quarters. Yeah, three quarters of the band. So and it still sounds like the Atlantics.
that's
So that's
awesome.
so it was just one of those happy accidents. It just timing and fell in place.
Now, I really admire your playing.
Thank you.
My favorite song of all time was Santo and Johnny's Sleepwalk, and
Right.
your version of that gave me goosebumps on my arms thinking about it.
Excellent. Yeah, because I did a slightly different version. I mean, it's the same. You got to know the original one to do a tribute to it. To do. So I knew the original, but I didn't want to. You can't beat the original version. It's done to perfection. So
Yeah,
I just did it my way, and that's how it turned out. I'm getting a pretty good reaction from it. Actually, very good reaction for that one.
yeah. It's that was our wedding song, and
Excellent.
so it's my favorite song. And I asked my wife if we could use that as our wedding song, and so it's very dear to me. And when I heard your version, it took me right back 23 years ago.
Wow, that's great, isn't it? Music can
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. It was like it's always been my favorite song, but that was a special moment that me and my wife shared.
Yes,
But what I want to talk about is your other band. Would you like to talk about them a little bit?
the Radiators,
Yes.
the band I'm touring with. Yeah, the Radiators. I was in a band called Mental as Anything for a while, about 6 years, I think, and they were an Australian band who's had more songs in the Australian top 40 than any other band. They had like 23 hits or songs that made the top 40. I mean, some of them were only like 38 or 36 of them, but they had the most hit records. So I toured them for 6 years. Then the main front guy of the band, he had a sudden heart attack and died. It sort of we were preparing to go to Europe and UK because we had a number one hit there with a song called "Live It Up." It got number one a couple of years ago, and once he passed, we thought, well, I thought, look, I think the band's done. You got to know when to stop.
Yeah.
And then we went into lockdown directly after that, and then I got a call from the Radiators, which I knew from being on the road. I knew the guys, and they said, "Would you be interested in coming and playing with us?" And the person in that band who joined before me has been there 35 years, so I'm well
Oh,
and
wow.
truly the new guy. And the other two guys have been there since 1978.
Wow.
And it's really good band, good bunch of guys, and they have a great following. And we tour around Australia.
Now, do you have any plans of maybe traveling to Europe or United States or North America? Has it, like, being that that it's the Atlantics and it's a pretty big deal? Do you plan on going out in support of that?
Well, the Atlantics won't tour as a band. The other guys, Jim and Bosco, are turning 80 this year,
Oh,
and
okay.
they don't want the pressure of having to perform at that level every night. And and their health is still pretty good, but the fingers are not what they used to be, and
Yeah.
a lot of work to get that up. So they just don't want the stress of that. And we did our last gig in Athens in 2013, and when we got back to Australia, we thought we had a good tour. Let's just go out on top, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we're leaving the live band like there, but I might go out with a band, and like Martin Cilia plays the Atlantics or something like that.
Yeah. And you also have tons, is it 6 or 7 or 8 solo records?
Yeah, I'm not even sure, but it's something like that. There's a few, and I've got another one that I've finished, but because the Atlantics came up, I had to put that aside.
So
I've got to put another 2 or 3 albums ready.
it's very, very mellow rock and roll, surf music, instrumental. Um what exactly are you inspired by for surf music?
It varies. It depends on the time. It depends where I am and what I'm doing. When I did my first, well, when I did my first Atlantics album, I was inspired by the location I was in, which was a place called Coogee and Maroubra, two suburbs near each other in Sydney here, which is where the Atlantics came from. And unbeknown to me, when I joined the band, I lived just around the corner, uh, few yards up the road from where they wrote Bombora. I didn't even know that. It was just everything just fell into place. I was just taken up by the whole thing. So it's what your environment is and what you're inspired by. I tend to like more rocky songs, even though I write ballads and slow ones. I tend to like the
Yeah.
more rock sort of sound.
Now, as far as your guitar playing, um it's like 3 or 4 dimensional. Like your playing style is layered, but you're doing it all at the same time. Where did you get the inspiration for such a complex way of playing?
Well, the basic part is I always like to play with a melody. I've got to be able to hear a tune when I play, not just playing scales or licks or whatever. I always got to hear a tune or a melody. So I always play to that. And then I guess over the years, I played in 3-piece bands a lot where there's just been guitar, bass, and drums, maybe a singer. So I've had to play, all the parts.
Yeah.
And you just work it out. You work out how to do it. You just, I just move my fingers around till I find, oh, that sounds all right. But if it doesn't sound good, I won't do that again. It's yeah. And also I did study a bit and learning. Well, I could play jazz guitar as well, and I did that in the 90s when guitars went out of fashion a bit here in Australia, and dance music, techno music was big. I went and played jazz gigs because that was still, I thought, well, jazz is kind of out of date already, and I'll just go and do that. And then I got back into it with the Atlantics playing that. Yeah, so I do a lot of, well, I used to do a lot of jazz stuff. So yeah, everything just you say get your chordal melodies, your harmonies, and all that. You have to work all that out.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Atlantics came out in January. Did you guys put that out yourself? I imagine there is a
We did
lot.
it ourselves. Yeah, it was just more practical to do it ourselves and just keep it like it is. It was a labor of love in a way, but it's been getting really good response from around the world. You know, it's been getting a great response, which is really encouraging. I mean, there's 16 new songs on there. I think we had a couple more we left off in the end, but yeah, we got 60 new songs, and that sounds like the Atlantics.
It's awesome. Now, to get that sound, did you work with analog equipment, older equipment? What kind of gear did you use to get that traditional throwback sound?
We basically used, well, we used to use tape. Everything was done on tape, 24 track tape or 16 track tape, whatever was around, up until this new album. We just went into Pro Tools, just really good converters, same gear, same amps, same guitars, same reverb tank, same echoes. We've still got all the gear, same gear. Um, but just as for convenience and moving files around and things like that, we went into a Pro Tools. So that's how we did it, the new album. And it seems to be okay. So we don't rely on Pro Tools for a lot of the tricks like auto tune or whatever they have on there. I don't even
Yeah,
know. But we
yeah,
just basically use Pro Tools like a big tape recorder.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So, tell me what you have planned coming up next. Now that your big release is out, um, what are you gonna do concerning the Atlantics, and then that next project that you have recorded?
Well, we'll do the Atlantic. Well, the Atlantic, it's got it's getting legs. It's got a lot of legs to it. So we'll do that for the next few months. I may go out and play some gigs like Martin Cilia plays the Atlantics, maybe. Put a band together for that. I'm hoping to come to the States for SG1 in 2024. That's on the cards, and then I'll figure out what to do then. But I'm just taking it as it comes. I've got a few albums ready. I've done a few things. I'll probably put an album out, solo one out sometime this year. But I don't want to kill off the Atlantics one.
Yeah, exactly. Now, can you get the Atlantics on all the formats like CD, digital, and
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's on the usual platforms, and yeah, obviously we've got CDs. Um, Double Crown Records stock it in the States.
how
Leo's Den
how
in the
about
UK.
vinyl?
No, we've been getting requests for vinyl, but the thing about vinyl is it's fun, but our biggest overhead really is freight, postage and freight.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gone ridiculous in the last year or so. So to freight vinyl around the world is just so expensive.
Is the closest pressing plant to you in Tokyo?
I'm not sure. The last batch of vinyl we got done in the Czech Republic, I think.
Yeah, I put out a record and they put it out in Czech Republic.
Yeah, and that was pretty good. They did a good job.
Yeah.
I do hear there's a plant in Melbourne here in Australia, but I don't know much about it. Apparently, that's being set up.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know, but yeah, it's so the whole freight thing and vinyl's heavy. It's you got to get a good quality one, and it's just and they're sort of fragile in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to pack them properly, but it's just one of those things. What do we do? What do we do? We could, for example, get someone overseas to press them overseas and not bring them back to Australia, and just freight them from somewhere else in the world where it's not so expensive.
Well,
Just
it,
there's
I'm sorry.
just say there's always those sort of ways of doing things. There's ways around it. We just haven't looked into that yet.
Okay. Okay. Um, so I want to say a year ago, when I first discovered you, I read your interview in the Continental magazine
Yes.
from Double Crown, and immediately I was struck by your kind personality, and I wanted to reach out to you, and for one reason or another I couldn't get it straight, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'd give it another shot, and I was very pleasantly surprised um at our conversation. I really appreciate your music, and really, I mean, I enjoyed it. I was listening to it with my wife, and she was talking about having her little cocktail and sitting out in the back
Yeah.
porch, and like, she's not a music fan per se, but when something strikes her, she's very much into it. She's like, play that again.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hate when that happens.
So I want to encourage everybody to check out Double Crown Records. I'll put the link in the description so you can get the Atlantic's
Yes.
CD there. Down below that, you get the Pyrec merchandise and tons of surf music resources. Martin, thank you so much for making time for me, and
Welcome.
I look to having other videos by you on the program.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Thanks, Ryan.